Hey folks, it's Phil here from AttackForge. Today I'm going to show you why demonstrating and proving your methodology is important. Whether it's a pen test, a red team assessment, secure code review, or any other security testing assessment, it's important to highlight what was tested and what wasn't tested, and any evidence to support each outcome. This helps build trust with your customers, provide greater visibility to the business, engineering and security teams, provide for greater auditability, and allow you to standardize and compare your security tests. It also helps your testers ensure that they didn't miss anything and guide some of those junior testers on every assessment. Let's take a look at a methodology. We're going to start by clicking on test cases from your project dashboard inside AttackForge. Here we can see the entire methodology that's been assigned to this web application pen test. The methodology is broken down into test cases, and every single test case can be individually actioned by a pen tester. We can see test cases which failed, test cases which are still in progress, test cases which passed, and also test cases which remediated. Let's drill into one of these test cases to see what it looks like. So for every test case, we can see what was tested, and we can also see how it was tested in the form of execution flows. Each test case can be marked as tested, not tested, currently in progress, or not applicable. We can see that the test case has failed, which means there were some vulnerabilities identified linking to this test case. And if we click on vulnerabilities, now we can see every vulnerability that relates to this test case. We can go ahead and click on it to see more details. On this page, the engineers have all the information that they would normally see in the pen test report available to them so they can start working on remediation. Here at the bottom, we can see the associated test case that we were just linking this vulnerability to. Now, once we go ahead and close this vulnerability to indicate that it's been fixed, and when we go back to the test case, we can see now that the test case has been remediated, showing that vulnerabilities were discovered, but they've now all been fixed. So every test case can be assigned to a tester on the project. It can also be assigned to different assets which are being tested as part of the scope of the project. We can upload evidence to support the outcome of every test case, as well as capture notes that are going to be available for the customer to see. So every test case also has an internal workspace. This is where the pen testers can capture their supporting information which isn't available for the customer to see. This is where you can capture all your different log files, output files from different tools that you use to perform the test case, or any other notes or supporting documentation or evidence as part of your testing methodology. We're going to create a methodology that we're going to use for red team assessments. We're going to base the methodology on MITRE's attack framework. So back in AttackForge, we're going to click on the Test Suites module, then we're going to click on New. Here we're going to enter in the name of our methodology, in this case, Red Team methodology, and a description to help us when we're selecting it on different projects. And we're going to click on Create. So now that we've created our red team methodology, we want to start adding some test cases. So we're going to click on the methodology, and now we're going to click on test cases. We're going to start by adding our first test case. So now back on the MITRE attack framework site, we're going to start adding some reconnaissance test cases. First one we want to add is for active scanning. So let's go ahead and copy that as a test case in AttackForge. Now we want to start adding some execution flows to help us understand what we actually have to do when we're performing reconnaissance and as part of our red team. So now we're going to start adding some of these sub-techniques, including scanning IP blocks, vulnerability scanning, and we'll also include word list scanning. We're now going to click on Create. And we can see that our test case has been created. And if we click on it, we can see all of that extra information relating to those execution flows. So once you've finished adding all of your test cases, you can rearrange them if you would need to. You can also drag and drop to make it even easier. So now let's go ahead and add this new methodology on a new red team assessment in AttackForge. So from the Projects module in AttackForge, we're going to click on New and then select Project. Here we can fill in all of the information to create a new project in AttackForge. And if we search test suites and search for red team, we'll see that we now have our new red team methodology to apply to this red team assessment. So let's go ahead and select that. So once we've finished adding all of the project information for this new red team assessment, we're going to go ahead and create it in AttackForge. Let's click on Members, Review and Create, check that all of the information here is correct, and then click on Create Project. So now we have our new red team assessment with our red team methodology assigned to this project. So before we start testing, as always, let's go ahead and notify the customer that we've started testing. That's just going to keep them informed that we're actively testing right now, in case they have any questions or issues. So now let's click on Test Cases. And here we can see all of those different red team methodology that we're going to be executing on this red team assessment. So we're going to select all of the test cases and set them into progress. And now we're going to start looking at each of those one by one. So here we have the first red team test case that we're going to look at. And this was relating to that active scanning. So here we can see in the tags, it's reconnaissance, active scanning. We can see the MITRE attack ID and some information relating to what we're going to be doing for active scanning. And here are all the different sub-techniques which we've mapped as execution flows in AttackForge, relating to scanning IP blocks, vulnerability scanning, and word list scanning. So during our testing, we're going to go ahead and start adding notes where it's relevant to add some extra context for the customer. We can also upload additional documentation, images, screenshots to help support all of the active scanning that we performed. And within the internal workspace, we can go ahead and store any of our scanning log files from any of the tools that we used. And once we finish completing this test case, we'll come to the status and select that it's being tested. Now, if we did find any vulnerabilities, we can go ahead and click on vulnerabilities and then click the Add button to go and register that. And once you're finished with that test case, you can go ahead and click on Next Test Case to move on to the next one, until you've gone through and completed all of your test cases. So now let's take a look at how our methodology turns out in the reports. So from the dashboard, we're going to click on Custom Reports, and we're going to select a RedTeam assessment report. Go ahead and download the report. Let's go ahead and open it and take a look. So here in the test cases section of our RedTeam report, we can see exactly what was completed, in progress, not tested, and not applicable. Here we can see the test case that we just completed, along with any supporting notes and evidence that we want to include in the report. Now you can use the Report Gen tool to show this information however you would like within your reports. Our Report Gen tool is very flexible, so I recommend checking out our other videos on how to create custom report templates. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know what you think in the comments. Look forward to seeing you next time.